evening, Slow.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Michael Thomas, and today I'm going to inform you a little bit about some facts about the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. We're going to go over 3 topics today. We're going to go over the launch of the Super Nintendo. We're going over the lifespan and what advancements it brought to the world of gaming. And we're going to follow up with the end and rebirth with last month's Super Nintendo Classic. So let's get started. The Super Nintendo launched in 1990 in Japan. It was followed up by 1991 in North America and 1992 in South America. It was released under 3 different names. In Europe and Japan, it was known as the Super Famicom. In South Korea, it was known as the Super Convoy. And in North America, it was known as the Super Nintendo. When it was released, its first game was Super Mario World, which ended up becoming the most sold game out of the entire system's lifespan. Next, we move on to the lifespan of the Super Nintendo. The Super Nintendo came in 2 different forms. The first one was known as the fat version, and then released later with a cheaper, slim version with both a Super Nintendo version and a Super Famicom version being released. During its lifetime, it brought a lot of things that had never been seen before, such as with Donkey Kong Country, it brought pre-rendering, which before then, every game was like Super Mario World. It had flat background, very low contrast, almost no shadowing. Well, Donkey Kong Country got around this by using polygons stacked on top of each other in the background to make it look as if Donkey Kong himself was in a 3D environment. This game actually became the second most sold game behind Super Mario World, to such a point that the company Rare, who took over the rights for Donkey Kong, actually owned at one point 49% of all of Nintendo. Another advancement was Star Fox, which added not pre-rendering, but rendering 3D, which means as you go through the game is actually spitting out information at the exact same time as you're moving forward. So you are actually, indeed, in a 3D world. This game was actually so good that it was released 3 times, renamed Star Fox 64 for the Nintendo 64 and for the Nintendo DS. Lastly, we will talk about the end of the Super Nintendo and the rebirth. So, resolution was getting higher, picture was getting better, nobody was enjoying as much a 240p console, and they wanted to move up from there. Super Nintendo tried to hang on. In North America, it was actually made all the way up to 1999, and it stuck around a bit longer in Japan till 2003. One way that actually tried to stay afloat with everything is it tried to team up with Sony, who also was intrigued to make a console of their own, but because they had differences of whether or not they should use cartridges, like Nintendo wanted, or discs, like PlayStation, or I guess Sony wanted to do, they split up. Sony created a PlayStation, and Nintendo moved on to the Nintendo 64. So, is the console still relevant today? This is a Retro Freak. It actually upscales Super Nintendo games from 240p to 720. And if you guys know, the brand new Nintendo system runs on handheld mode at 720p. So, for me, it's still pretty relevant. Not only that, thanks to the ability to play ROMs, digital emulations of the game on just about any console, people are still able to play the game and enjoy it along with a new generation. So, most currently, the Rebirth, last month, Nintendo released a Super Nintendo Mini, which completely sold out. Before it was even on the market, all the pre-orders were completely sold out. And so there is still a want and possibly a need for this console. So the three topics we went over were the birth, we went over the advancements that it brought to the table, and lastly, the end or rebirth, depending how you see it. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
Hopefully it's enough time. Okay, it's 5.